YouTube family. It's great to be back again. Today is April the 2nd. A beautiful day here in H-Town, Texas. I hope that you got a little bit of the sunshine that we got also. I have some sports to talk. You know, March Madness is going on right now, and it is truly madness. But before we get started, I want you to do as I always ask you guys. Please hit that like button, that subscribe button, smash that bell so that when a new show comes out, you'll be notified. And also share it with some friends. We are in the process of looking at picking up some additional sponsors. We would like to accept anyone that may be interested in sponsoring whatever business that they are in or trying to get the word out to our audience. You simply go to fatlarrypodcast@gmail.com. fatlarrypodcast@gmail.com. You also go there to also order a t-shirt or a hoodie. I actually delivered 2 hoodies last week to some listeners. Different colors. We can do any color you like. And so one more time, go to fatlarrypodcast@gmail.com and order yourself a hoodie, the color that you desire, and a t-shirt. Now, this is the long sleeve, but we also have short sleeve t-shirts available for you. And once again, if you're interested in advertising on the show, go there and let us know, leave your information, and you will be contacted. So without further ado, let's jump right off into some sports. And I'm going to start off with March Madness. What a moniker that they chose for the NCAA basketball month of tournaments. Because it is truly madness, because it's win or go home. And when you're in a situation like that, you can have a good team beat a pretty good team. And you can have a pretty good team beat an excellent team on any day. And that's what's occurring through the tournament. And that's what makes it March Madness. And so I'm going to start off with giving my flowers to Tamika Reed. She's the head coach at Jackson State University. And Miss Reed has run through the SWAC for the last 3 years with no one being able to touch her. She just recently, her and the Jackson State girls basketball team were in the NCAA March Madness. They had them play UConn. And their coach, Gino, agreed with her, and that is that Jackson State, with their record, should have been afforded a little higher seed so they don't play the number 1 team in the tournament or in that particular area or bracket. That's what they're faced with every year. And so Jackson State, realizing what they have for themselves in the form of a coach, has issued or offered to Tamika Reed a new contract. And it's also, in retrospect to a lot of PWIs are now approaching her for assistant and head coaching jobs. For instance, Tulane University is said to have her on the radar for their head women's basketball coach position. And so what Jackson State did was did not waste a second. And I am, this guy Robinson at Jackson State, I liked a lot of the moves that he makes. He didn't wait one day. He has now offered Tamika Reed a 4-year, $1 million contract. Now, that is not in any way, shape, or form any comparison to what Don Staley receives at South Carolina, University of South Carolina. But I just want the listening audience to know and understand that $1 million contract at an HBCU for 4 years, that's HBCU head football coach money. And this is very significant in that they aren't just trying to stay up with the PWIs. They're letting her know what they really think of her. Because once again, you have some HBCU football coaches getting 300, maybe 350, but that's generally where they start at, anywhere from 175 to 250 a year for a head football coach. And you know, football rules everywhere, not just in the SWAC, Southeastern Conference, Southwestern Conference. There is no more Southwestern Conference, excuse me. I showed my age that time. But in the major conferences, they issue this type of money to their coaches. And so this is a head turner, Jackson State offering her $250 for 4 years, $1 million. And I think that might be enough to keep her there for another year. Tulane is a good job, but she can stay where she is. I'm sure she got recruits coming in for Jackson State, and she will be at the top and so forth as salary. Let me give you a little background on her. She has a six-year record at Jackson State, 125-54. You know, you do the math. She's going to win 3.5 times out of 4. She's 95-10 in the SWAC. So she's going to win 9 out of 10 games in the SWAC. So she has the record to validate what Jackson State is doing. And I can understand what A.D. Robinson is doing, because when she goes to that NCAA tournament, that's cha-ching, cha-ching for Jackson State. And that's what it's all about, making money. And this year, one more time, they lost in the first round to UConn, 86-64. But one more time, UConn's head coach, that is a legend, also agreed after Ms. Reed said that we should get a higher seeding than 14 to pay. We shouldn't have to play the number 1 seed with the record we have. And so I agree totally with her. Now, let's go to Dawn Staley at University of South Carolina. She's back in the Final Four. Let me give you one of her records. In 15 years at South Carolina, Dawn Staley has won 2 national championships, been to 5 NCAA Final Fours the last 8 years. She has signed a $7,022.4 million contract. She's making $2.9 this year. She's the highest paid women's head basketball coach in the NCAA. You need to listen to that, because you have a Vandermeer at Stanford, that's a legend. She makes more than she does. And then you have Gino at UConn. She makes more than he does. But Dawn Staley has done a magnificent job. She lost 4 players last year to the WNBA. 2 of them went number 1. But she's back in the Final Four. Yeah, you got good players, but you got to be able to coach. Players alone don't do that. You can look at the University of Houston men's team. Yeah, they got some 4 stars or some 3 stars, but 5 stars has never been Coach Sampson's thing. He looks for a particular talent in players. And as you can tell, his track record shows you that what he's looking at works. He looks at the heart and the competitiveness and what type of person the player is. For instance, Jamal Shead. Jamal Shead is like 25 miles out of Austin, the suburb of Austin Manor, Texas. But because he wasn't a 5-star, UT looked right over him. But he comes to University of Houston. Kelvin Sampson made him a top priority, because from watching him, he could see as a high schooler that he had what he wants on his team. And that's that doggedness in yourself, that competitiveness, and that will to want to win. And you can see this go down this particular year with Jamal Shead. Speaking of March Madness, yes, I'm a HBCU guy, but I love University of Houston. And if you've ever watched this show, you've heard me say it repeatedly, because University of Houston, as far as the 60s, far back as the 60s, were recruiting black athletes. They were the trailblazer here in the South, Southwest. And that's why it took so long for the Southwest Conference to allow them in. They didn't want to have any parts with University of Houston because they were recruiting black kids. So University of Houston has a special place with me. So once again, U of H was recently in the March Madness, and they have had all type of obstacles to overcome. But once again, Sampson picking the right individuals, the ones with the will to want to win, the ones with the will to overcome injuries and any other obstacles. Jawan, the top forward and big man, messed up knee, has his knee drained every week. Severe bruised shin. He has to take a rest after they play one day because it's just difficult. Stitches in the web of his left hand that limited him from doing a lot of things. You have Jamal Shedd that hurts his ankle in the first half of the Duke game. Yeah, I got a lot of people that believe in Duke saying, well, it wouldn't have made any difference. I don't think so. They didn't have Shedd. They had a half of Jawan Roberts, but the fact of the character that the U of H players have, they still had a chance to win that game without their leader. So we want to give University of Houston their flowers. I want to give Jamal Shedd his definitely, Jawan Roberts, all of the University of Houston, Emmanuel Sharp, L.J. Cryer, JVR, all of those guys. And I look forward to them being back next year because they're going to get a kid. You've heard of his father, Master P. Master P has a son that is a certified hooper out of California, 6'6", scored 60 points this year in a particular game. Now, I'm sure what Coach Sampson's first thing he's going to do is make him understand how significant defense is before he sees the floor, but I like that. They got one coming that's a scorer, which is what everybody seems to say all University of Houston needs is that second scorer. And not only are they going to get him, they have another gentleman, let me tell you about, that's coming in with them that is significant. He is a 4-star. So this is U of H's first time getting 2 4-stars in the same year. They're going to have Chase McCarty, 6'6", out of IMG Academy in Florida, the same place they got Jarice Walker from last year that went hardship, drafted #1 to the Indiana Pacers. They say the same thing about this kid. He's 6'6", can shoot, play defense, so the Cougars aren't going anywhere. And you give Coach Sampson these type of weapons with his philosophy and his culture that he already instills in just good players, and with the players that's coming back, JoJo Tugler, Ramon, and you got Arsenault out of Beaumont coming back, 6'7". I look for UH to be just as good as they are this year. Now, let's go back to the HBCUs. You have Grambling won the SWAC tournament. They actually won a playing game in the NCAA. So Grambling had a good year. Let me talk to my buddy from Grambling, Louisiana, that only calls me when Grambling wins, which has been far in between. So they won this year, and I got a call from him, and I congratulated him. I like the coach that they have there. But Grambling did a great job this year in winning a playoff game. And then you have Norfolk State out of the MEAC. They won the CIT. CIT is another tournament. Those that don't make the NCAA, it's a college insider tournament. They beat Purdue Fort Wayne 75-67. I don't care what type of tournament it was. They won. That's an HBCU that won a national tournament because they had schools from everywhere invited. Then you look at Grambling, as I said, and here's one that falls under the radar. Got a question for you. Who's the last black HBCU to win the NAIA National Championship? Okay. TSU, Texas Southern University, in 1977 won the last HBCU team to win an NAIA National Championship. I've had several of the guys on that team on this show. Marcellus Singleton, Alonzo Bradley, great players. Langston University in Langston, Oklahoma, played for the championship in Kansas City, Missouri, for the NAIA. They were right there with about 4 minutes left. They lost the lead, a heartbreaker. They lost to Friedman Hamilton, some school that I have no clue where it's from, but look it up. But Langston University, we want to send you your flowers. You made it all the way to the national championship game. Langston, I think, was like 33-3 or 33-2. A great season for Langston University. So now what we're going to do is go to the Final Four. What you're going to have is North Carolina State is going to play Purdue in one game in the first game, and the second game is going to be UConn versus Alabama. That should be a barn burner. I like Alabama, the way they play. I like their point guard. He reminds me of Shed in that he's a lockdown defender. He can get to the rim, all the things Shed can do, and he shoots that three. He may shoot that three a little bit better than Shed, but Shed got a nice shot also. But I just like Jamal Shed's will to win. I have a little wager, nothing major, a little $5 bet, somebody telling me that he won't get drafted. There's no way NBA general manager on some of these losing teams don't want a winning culture. And that's all Jamal Shed is about, winning. And we saw that after he went down against Duke. The team fought, but if they had Jamal Shed, they lost by 3. He good for 6 more points in another half. And not only that, he makes the other players better. So, I'm going to get off my soapbox on that about thinking that they would have won if Jamal Shed was there, because we have to deal with reality. Duke won. And Duke has a good team. But I'm pulling for those Cougs next year. And so in the men's Final Four, I got Purdue beating North Carolina State. I got UConn beating Alabama. I think that's going to go down to the wire, though, but I got UConn, and then I got UConn winning a whole ball of wax. Okay? And we got news on HBCU baseball. As you know, LSU was last year's national champion in baseball. Southern University beat LSU baseball. Let me repeat that. Southern University beat the defending national champs March the 31st. First time that they have beaten them since 2019. And we have to give Southern their flowers for that. And LSU is going to have to be dealt with every year in baseball, and it's just a tremendous accomplishment for the Southern University baseball team. I'm a TSU guy, but I'm also for the SWAC, so I'm good that Southern did what they did. I'm happy with that. Okay, we're going to go further into some things. Here we got the WN Women's National Invitational Tournament. You got St. Louis playing Vermont, Minnesota playing Troy University. In men's, you got Seton Hall versus Indiana State for the championship. I'm going to go with Seton Hall because Seton Hall has beaten UConn. That was one of the worst travesties on choosing the teams for the NCAA this particular year was Seton Hall not making it. Seton Hall has one of the, UConn only lost 3 times, and Seton Hall has one of them, and had a 20-plus some odd record, like 23-10 or something like that, or 12. Not excellent, but the wins that they have were great, and it's out of the Big East. So, but anyway, I got Seton Hall beating Indiana State. They're on a Cinderella run. But they have a good team also. But I just think that Seton Hall with that Big East and battle tested are going to beat Indiana State. So what we're going to do is now, let me go to my computer here and draw up some stuff here, pull up some things here. But while I'm waiting on that to come up, let's talk a little bit about the Astros, my Houston Astros. It is early in the season, but I don't want it to become a habit for the Astros to lose at home. My Astro fans and people that follow Astros, if you'll remember, the Astros had the Texas Rangers 3-2 when they came home, won every game in Arlington. Came home with 2 games to play and needing to win 1 and couldn't. And if you look at their record last year at home, it's almost 500, which is unheard of, but they won most. They had a winning record on the road. So I know it's early, only 5 games. They're 1-4, but still, 1-5 now because they lost. Today is Wednesday, April the 2nd. Is that right, Shaylin? April the 2nd or 3rd? The 3rd. April the 3rd. Sorry about that, audience. April the 3rd. So they lost last night to the Toronto Blue Jays, Tuesday night. Today being Wednesday, they are now 1-5. Like I say, panic is not setting in, but I just don't like for them to be losing their home games because that's what stopped them from getting into the World Series last year, not being able to win 1 home game out of 2 to go to the World Series. But I think they're going to be real good. They added this ace closer, but not only the ace closer failed them over the series with the Yankees, but the guy we had last year that's been here failed. So one more time, I feel like the Astros are going to get it together, but you know, it's just it's early, but I don't want that home losing to continue. Actually, in the Major League Baseball standings for right now, the Rangers are 3-2, the Angels are 3-2, Mariners are 3-3, and the Astros at the bottom, 1-5. But that will change. And we go over here to the other American League Central. You got the Tigers 4-0, the Guardians 4-2, and the Twins are 2-2. You go to the American League East, you got the Yankees 5-1. I got a friend that's a Yankee friend, a Yankee lover, and he was just like their team. Here in Houston, they showed the film after the Yankees won. You'd have thought the Yankees won the World Series because we've been the Yankees' daddy now for about 7 years. They cannot get past us. And so when they finally beat us, even if it's in regular season, they were just overjoyed. But I'm not going to hate on the Yankees. They did sweep us with 4. The Yankees are leading the East 5-1, Boston 4-2, Orioles 3-2, and the Rays are bringing up the rear 3-3. So what we're going to do is go and move on to something else, and we're going to talk about the NBA. The NBA, you know, I'm a Laker fan. I like my Rockets, but I'm a Laker fan. If my buddy was here, he'd tell me, "Nah, don't say you're a Rocket fan if you love the Lakers," and I do. What's going on with the NBA is you got the West is a dogfight. You got Denver and OKC fighting for the top spot. You got Phoenix, the Clippers, the Lakers. You got the Mavericks that's on a roll right now. Luka Doncic is just looking like he is unguardable. Boston Celtics in the East. Milwaukee Bucks. It's kind of hard for me to figure out the Milwaukee Bucks. I wonder if Doc Rivers is cursed because they wasn't doing that bad, but they just felt like they should have been doing better because of their record at that particular time. But Doc Rivers has come in, and I don't know if they playing just a little bit over 500 ball. But you got the Celtics leading the East. You got the Bucks, the Cavaliers, and you got the Magic. Magic's got a pretty good young team. And you got the Knicks and the Pacers. that whole Eastern Division might be one of the 8 teams versus the other teams. And so right now you got the Pacers at 6, the Miami Heat at 7, and the 76ers at 8. 76ers just got Joel Embiid back, and so they should be getting a little bit better. And so, and you got the Bulls at 36 and 40. And you know, you had that play-in game with the 9th and 10th team. And so you got Indiana, I think it's just a little bit too young. So I'm looking at it between Boston. I had the Bucks, between them and the Bucks. But with the Bucks being so inconsistent, you know, it could possibly be the Cavaliers. And once again, when tournament and the playoffs start, anything can happen. One injury and your team could be out. So then you go to the West. You got the Denver Nuggets. I'm going to say this right now. Even though OKC and Timberwolves are right there, the NBA championship goes through the Denver Nuggets. You got to beat the champ. The champ not going to go anywhere. You know, a lot of times they don't repeat, but they're not going anywhere. You got to beat the champs. So you got the Denver Nuggets, the Minnesota Timberwolves, Oklahoma City. You got the Clippers, the Mavs, New Orleans. New Orleans in a downswing now because Ingram is not available to them. He's out. And so they've been playing like 500 ball. So you got the Pelicans at 6, Sacramento Kings at 7, Phoenix Suns at 8 that are on the rise. So Phoenix Suns at 8 and the Dallas Mavericks in 5 and only 1 game separated. And you got the then you have the Lakers in 9. They've come all the way from 11 up to 9. They had 43, and Golden State is at 10. They're in the playoff game to get in. And the Rockets are just outside at 38. I think they got about 8 games left. So they have an opportunity. But I'm hoping that the Lakers can get up to 7 or 6 into the ranking so they don't have to play the Nuggets right out the gate. You know, you're going to eventually have to go through the Nuggets, but the more you win, the more your confidence is built up. So I'm going to go that route with them. And in the SWAC, we're going to go to baseball in the SWAC. Once again, I told you about LSU losing to Southern University. And baseball is just getting started everywhere. So, but anyway, in the East, you got Bethune-Cookman 7-1. Bethune-Cookman played for the championship last year. The 2 Florida schools are really, really good in baseball in the SWAC. Bethune-Cookman is 7-1. Florida A&M is 7-2. Jackson State is 5-3. Alabama State is 5-3. Alabama A&M is 1-8. Valley, Mississippi Valley is 0-7 in the East. You got Southern 6-0. Grambling State 7-1. Grambling State came to Houston and beat us 2 out of 3 games. I have to remember if they play 4 or 3. Texas Southern is 3-3. Prairie View is 4-5. Arkansas Pine Bluff is 2-7. And Alcorn is 1-7. Okay. Why they didn't put, okay. So that's the standings in baseball. Southern is leading the West, and Bethune-Cookman and FAMU are leading the East. Now, girls softball, another one of the sports that's currently being played in the East. It looks like the girls in the Florida State also are ruling baseball. You got FAMU 10-2. You got Bethune-Cookman 9-3. You got Jackson State 8-3. Alabama State 7-5. Alabama A&M 1-10. Valley 0-12. You got Prairie View 11-0. Prairie View is kicking butt. Arkansas Pine Bluff 5-3. Texas Southern 7-5. These are overall records. And you got Southern. Southern is 7-5. TSU is 4-5. Grambling State 3-8, and Alcorn State 1-10. So that's the SWAC coverage for today. Now let's talk a little bit about Caitlin Clark and the game that she is doing, how she is playing at Iowa. They just recently beat LSU and to go to the Final Four. And she's been offered $5 million by Ice Cube, who runs the Big Three League, ex-NBA players and things of that nature. She's been offered $5 million. Get this, that's for 8 games and 2 playoff games if her team make it. $5 million. $5 million. Let that sink in for 10 games. And then I just looked on the computer some moment ago. I saw what Lil Durk, the rapper, is offering her $10 million to play on his team. Someone's asked me, what do you think? Do you think she can make it? It ain't about making it. If she signs up, she gonna make it when she get that $5 million or that $10 million. Now, yes, I think that she'll be a little bit out of her league. I know the guys are older and what have you. Big 3 ball is like pickup ball at the park or at the Y, at the gym. It's rough and tumble. And so I don't know about that. But still, if I'm her, I'm taking the $5 million or the $10 million. And she still can play the WNBA. And if it's up to me, I would still take the $5 million, get someone to allow me in the WNBA when that season's over with to be able to play with them, because somebody will do it, because she is big money to anybody that has her on their team. She is big money. Just like Angel Reese has decided she's going to leave LSU. She's not going to play her senior year. She's going to make big money. She's already making big money, but she's with endorsement deals, but she's going to sign more endorsement deals when she plays there. Because WNBA, I think the minimum contract is like $70,000 or $60,000. So it's a no-brainer for me with Caitlin Clark on going ahead and trying out the possibilities of her playing in the Big Three. Because as soon as she signs her name on that dotted line, she got $5 million. And I know it's not all about just the money for most athletes. They want to be successful and win, but you want to get paid also. So we have covered the March Madness, Tamika Reed at Jackson State, trying to get her to stay because the PWIs, predominantly white institutions, are after her now in an assistant coach position or either head coach position. One more time, Tulane has asked to talk to her. Jackson State is not letting any grass grow under their feet. They've already responded by offering her a 4-year, $1 million contract, which is up there with the big boys in HBCU football. That's what football coaches get. Don Staley, making a $22.4 million over 7 years, has South Carolina back into the mix. And one last thing I want to do, I want you guys to go to fatlarrypodcast@gmail.com, sign up to be the guest host. I'm going into the last show. We're going to do one more show, and after that one last show, we're going to make a decision on who will come on the show to co-host. I got a couple guys already telling me that they want to be on. I say, hey, you got to go online and do as everybody else does. fatlarrypodcast@gmail.com. Put your name in and let us know that you want to co-host. Also, I'm going to throw this out. I heard this on the radio show. The top 5 centers in the NBA, past centers in the NBA. It can be one that's current if you think he falls into that category. But my top 5, you got Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. At one time, scored the most points in the NBA before LeBron James broke it this year. You got Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell, and you got Shaq, and you got Hakeem Olajuwon. One more time, I got Kareem, I got Bill and Wilt, kind of like you pick it. Then I got Shaq. Now, Shaq could easily be number 2. Just like Dream, Hakeem Olajuwon could easily be number 2 in my book. But these are my top 5. Down below, let me know who you think and what order out of these 5 centers you think are the greatest centers. You have Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, you have Wilt Chamberlain, you have Bill Russell, you have Shaquille O'Neal, and you have Hakeem Olajuwon. Hakeem Olajuwon was the last name I called up, but by no means is he the last one and so forth as talent. Go down below and let's start a conversation on who you think is the best out of those 5 and rank them. You know, because regardless who you choose, you chose a great one. You know, and even if yours comes in number 5, he's still great. So help me out with this conversation and debate. Also, let me know what it is you want us to talk about. Anything about that's been talked about today, give me a comment on it. But do go to fatlarrypodcast@gmail.com to order you some shirts and hoodies. And we would greatly appreciate that. So we want to thank you for tuning in to the show again. Next week, we'll have a great surprise guest for you. And we hope that wherever you are, you're enjoying today. Peace out.